good day. It is Sissy from Sissy's Cards and Crafts. Today I thought we would start out with a very simple card that anybody can do with any paper that you've got. The last video I talked about recollections paper, and I have a couple sheets of that here, just a coordinating pad. Again, it's going to have the white on the back, and for this card, that's actually not a terrible thing. We're going to utilize that and make that as part of our card. So first off that we're going to do is we're going to also grab another piece of coordinating paper. I felt this color looked nice. This is a retired color from Stampin' Up. We've got the classic stamp pad here to show that, sorry, let me just try to get that glare off there. To show that, you know, you can use retired stuff. And now is the time, if you're interested in grabbing some older retired things from Stampin' Up, now's the time to do that before the new catalog comes out. If you look on Marketplace and different places, you can get some retired stuff. Honestly, I know it's not a good sales thing, but if you want to try the quality of stuff, that's the way to do it. That's the way I started. I grabbed some cheaper stuff. I did some deals with some people, and by that I mean I know some demonstrators will, when you buy new product from them, they'll give you very, very discounted retired product. So you're kind of getting double your money there, which is really nice. I unfortunately don't have enough product to do that, but definitely give it a try and make sure you try some good quality stuff. Don't just run to the dollar store and buy what they have there. By all means, give it a try. That's how you're going to find out what quality is by using the good and the bad. Anyway, the card I have today, like I said, very simple. Anybody can use it, is this here. And this is what's called a fracture card. I've also heard it called something else. I can't think of the name now. And although it looks complicated, it's very, very, very simple. So for this, I'm going to kind of switch a couple things up, where here I've got the solid color, it's the base, actually two solid colors, and then some floral paper here. I'm going to use this nice wash color here as my base. So I mentioned when my last video, you know, an 8.5 by 11 and how it's easy to find that middle. Well, now I'm going to use a 12 by 12. So I'm just going to kind of think of that 8.5 by 11. I want that card cut at 5.5 and then scored in the middle. So I'm just going to try to decide which side I want here. And I think I want this one. And I'm going to pop that into the 5.5. Oops, I got to make sure. Notice there's a little edge on here. Some of the papers will do that. And I'm just going to cut that off. But this is a good opportunity for me to show you the benefit of having this side here to measure. And I know I'm kind of doing it backwards here for you guys, so maybe if I flip it around, that will help. So if you have this other side and I want to cut that off, or rather if I go this way, it's going to be hard for me to really hold this because I've got that edge there. So if I come in on this side to do the cut, I can measure it quite precise and hold it. So I just want to line this up with my cutting track, and now I can hold this big sheet of paper here, and I have this edge to come up against. So there's an edge on both ends. That edge to come up against, I'm going to use my cutting blade, and I'm just going to cut up there. And you can see I pretty much, if not got that bang on, cutting that off. So that's how precise it is. All right, so back to what I was doing here. I want this to be at 5.5, so I'm going to come up at that 5.5 mark here. Right. Again, make sure it's up against this nice track. Secure this down and just pull my cutting blade across. Okay, so that piece is for another card. Now we had that 11 basically we cut, so we want this to be that 8.5. And so I'm going to just bring this over here to my 8.5 mark. And also I want to show you for another time, you've got this track here to push this against. I personally like to always slide my blade towards the paper. If I have my blade up and I push down, I'm holding it and I'm going to cut it pretty good. But this way I'm always putting that pressure up against this track and I'm able to make sure that I've got a good cut. All right, so that's what I was trying to do basically, is get half of that sheet, right? So that's where our cards will be. Now I want to score this, and this gray is my scoring blade, at 4 1/4. So I'm going to come to 4 1/4 here. And I'm just going to give it a little score. And then you see my score line. All right, so I'm just going to put that aside for a second. I'm going to get that bone folder here. And so having this as a white back, having the white backing on this card makes it so when we open up, we have somewhere to write. And you do have a floral or a decorative back on it as well. Okay, so that's my base. That's basically this yellow is what I've done here. So I'm just going to set that aside. What I want to do now is get my matte. So this is this color here, and this serves a couple of purposes. One, it's going to give you that dimension, and two, it's going to give it a pop. And then three, if we should use, there's no musts, but we should use the same color so it looks like this stripe goes right through the paper. So I want my mat to be about 1/8 of an inch. So I have that smaller than this card. So I have that all the way around. So what I want to do is cut this at, if this is, and it never hurts to give it a quick measure, this is 4 1/2. So I want this to be 4 1/4 for my first cut. So I'm coming over here and I'm going to do that 4 1/4. And just line it up again here. Make sure I've got my marks proper and just give that a quick cut. And so you'll see that's going to, now why didn't that work? I'm not doing so good with my measurements. So actually it's the same size. For some reason I must have not measured it properly there. I'm just going to come up and use this side to give my make my cut here and do it properly. One day I'll get it all figured out. Don't worry about that. Okay, so now there we go. So that's my width. My height is that 5 1/2. So I want to be 1/8 of an inch shy of that 5 1/2. So if I look, here's my 5 1/2, and I'm just going to slice it there. Here's hoping now I can do it right there. Okay, so we see that there. Now this blends quite nicely, so you can see that difference in the card, but you could make it a wider mat if you so desired. Okay, so now what I want to do is also make some inch strips, or 1/4 inch strips rather, sorry. So I'm going to just put my paper in here, and I want to make it this same color, like I said. So I've got my 1 inch, my 1/2 inch, my 1/4 inch is right there. Okay. So I'm going to do about 3 of these, just to make sure. Now, that just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to there. Okay, so half, quarter. Cut it crooked. Okay. Another little secret that I have is this whole thing right here is that 1/4 inch, right? So that line helps to measure it, 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to do one more just for the fun of it. Okay. We can do more if we have to. All right, so we've got these 1/4 inch strips. All right, so I think that's that for that paper. Now we've got our card front. So similar, we want to have this is our mat. We want to have our paper 1/4 of an, or an 1/8 of an inch rather, smaller than that. So if my paper now is 4, I want to go an 1/8 of an inch smaller. So I will go to the 4, and then I'm just going to come down that 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, 1/4 of an inch, because I want 1/8 of an inch all the way around. That's right. Okay. Let's hope I did that one right. Yeah. So we got that there. Now I want to do the same for the bottom, or for the length of it. And my length is that 5 7/8. So this will be that tricky. 5 7/8. And I want 1/4. So I'm going to come down here like that. Here's hoping, cross your fingers, that math is going to work. Not on your life. Didn't do it. Okay, so how much do I need off there? One thing I'll tell you right now is I'm doing this upside down, so that's not helpful. And, you know, crafting isn't perfect. I'd rather have it cut too long than too short. So that now is the same length, so I'm just going to do that 1/4 of an inch off. Actually, I might have to do this twice. I should probably do half, but I need to make sure I'm doing it right here. So, nope, I was. Whew, good thing I didn't double guess myself here. All right, so I've got this piece, but this piece, I've got all my little strips, and then the last piece I'm going to need, and let's hope this one I can cut perfectly, is I'm going to have to use a couple pieces of white. So here's some white cardstock, and I'm going to do this at 2 inches. So line that up. You can see it's all lined along the edge. Give that a cut. And I want a box that is 2 inch by 2 inch. Okay, so again, 2 inches, slice, and there's my little box that's going to be, I'm going to put this in the center just to help make it a basic card so you can see. Now let's start putting this together. So I got my glue, and I'm going to place the glue on here. Now, white glue, if you have a good quality glue, you don't need a lot. If you use too much, especially with finer paper, it'll make it wrinkle and it will take away from the look of your card, your finished card. So a good quality glue really is important. I'm just going to put the card aside for a second, and we're going to focus on this right now. So as I let that dry, I've got some stamps here. And some of the stamps I have is these Wonderful Thoughts stamps. And there's a few different things. I just want one that's going to fit on this. And I'm going to put it in diagonal. So we want to make sure that it's going to fit. And we've got, you can do any things. Or you can do amazing things, sorry. Just thanks, hello, some basic ones there. Thinking of you. I think that's the one I want to use. So we're going to take that and we're going to get one of our blocks here that's going to fit that. I believe a B block should work. We're going to open this up and find the stamp. And you can see they're all kind of in here. You do get a protective sheet. So, Thinking of You, right here. Put that on our block, and it's one of these photopolymer ones. And like I had mentioned in my previous video, it doesn't matter. I could have got a little bit larger block to put it on so it could fit lengthwise, because there is a rounded edge there, so that's not the best fit. So I'm just going to put it on an angle. That works for me, but if you need it straight, by all means use a bigger block. So what I want to do here is give it a practice stamp. So I'm going to open my my ink up, and this ink pad is a little bit different than the other ones. It slides just because it's an older one. So Thinking of You, make sure I get lots of ink on there, this being an older stamp. And then I'm just going to give it a press. Hold it for a second. And that worked quite nicely. So there's my stamp. So now I'm going to take this, again, I want it on the diagonal, so I want my stamp to be on the diagonal. Now keep in mind my camera's upside down for you guys, so bear with me for a second as I do this. Just want to line it up, look straight down, and this is where that acrylic block that you can see through is really helpful. You line everything up, and the photopolymer is quite nice too. So there's my stamp. I'm just going to grab a baby wipe to clean this off. Now with the baby wipes, make sure they're non-alcoholic, or the non-alcohol ones, because you don't want to ruin your stamps. Okay, so there we go. I can put that back in the case, just like that, and away we go. Block over here. Okay, I'm just going to close this up so I don't have it in my hands. Now, I'm going to put this right in the center. Okay? So, some glue on it. I mentioned about popping stuff up, and you could, when we chatted last time, you could pop this up with dimensionals, but it would be all of this. I think with this type of card, I would keep this as flat as possible, and this next step is kind of the reason why. Okay, so there's my card. Now, this, when I showed you my sample one, at first look, it almost looks like I've pieced these pieces in here, and you think, oh man, that would be so hard, but really I haven't. As you see, this is what makes it look like I've pieced it in there, and that's why it's important to have strips that actually match the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start coming in, and it's important, it's easy once you kind of get it started, but it's important to start this one right at the edge. So don't put it all the way, just match it up here and glue it down. So I'm going to kind of just eyeball it, and I just want to go to where this part is. So, and I can tell you right now, I did a bit of a boo-boo that maybe you guys can avoid the next time. I can still continue on with that, that's great, but as you just noticed and what I just said, is you don't want to go past. So you want to match this edge up, and you don't really want to go past the floral border. So I should have not matted this first. It's going to make it a little bit difficult, but I can just come in here with my snips and snip that edge off. So there we go. And that's going to make it a little bit difficult for the rest of my card. Ideally, you just want to be able to put these on and then just cut off the edges. So if I hadn't put the mat on, I'd be golden. And next time, you know, learn from my mistakes. I've given you a few mistakes already today to learn from. So, but always cut longer is a good rule of thumb. So now I'm going to match this up along the edge of the white. I'm not overlapping, I'm just meeting the edge and meeting the edge of my last strip. And I'm going to come down here, and again, because I did it wrong, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a snip. There we go. If you have glue that squishes out because you use too much, just use your fingernail or a pin, or just like a little, I have this paper clip here that I just will have just in case you get glue smooshing out, because you don't want to have that all over your card. So then my next one, as you can guess it, is going to go here, and I'm just going to pre-measure it a little bit there so I can just know how much glue to put on. Alright, so I'm going to go here like this. Okay. All right. And then my next one is going to go on here like that. So now you can see how that, just because I've made it match my other paper, the matting paper, you can see how it's just making that floral underneath it pop, so it looks like it is the same, that I've put segments in there, but I haven't. I've just done that same amount there. All right, so I did cut a little bit too short there, so learn from my mistake. Do your floral or your background, then your middle section, and put your cross on there. All right, so what I'm going to do now is bring in my card base and make sure it opens the right way when you put your card on it. Ask me how I know. You don't want to be putting your front on and then having the card be totally upside down. So just give it a quick double check and now glue it on. This is where you could put some foam strips under here to give it a little bit of dimension and pop it up. That would be fine. It would look nice. All right, so there we go. This does have like 1, 2, 3 layers on top of the card, so it really has some thickness already. You don't want it so heavy that when you stand it up, it falls over. So there is our base card. I can open it up and I can take another stamp. So I've got Thinking of You. There's so many things in this one. It's saying you're wonderful, you're loved, you matter. You've come so far and accomplished so much. Congratulations. You are much appreciated. My heart will always be tied to yours. Hi, friend. So happy that you're my person. You can do amazing things. There's a whole lot here. This is called the Wonderful Thoughts set. So I think with this one saying Thinking of You, I wonder if this one here is going to fit. I don't think so. You're wonderful, you love, you matter. I don't believe that's going to fit, because that would be kind of a good one. Some people will do what they call stamp surgery, and they'll actually cut their stamps, and I might just have to do that with that one to make it make it work. All right. You've come so far and accomplished so much. I think I'll do that one. Where is that? It's always kind of hard to kind of find the right one, but I believe this is it. And where's a stamp that will work for this one? So I'm going to put this one on sideways again. Just while I've got you here, there's another acrylic block. It's nice because it's got lines on it, but you can see the size difference. And when you're going to hold it to put it in the ink, it's hard to just hold that edge, where this has that edge on it that really makes it nice. Okay, so you can use the Primrose ink, or the same ink that we used here, or you can use a black. A good black is just a Memento ink. It is a dye ink and it's fade resistant, so it's a good ink to kind of go to and to utilize for any words really, or any pictures. If you want to color on top of it, that's good. So let's just give this a good little tap. The type of material that's holding the ink is a little bit different than the other, so I'm just giving it my test, holding it there, and it's not too bad. All right, so we're going to do this. I'm going to do it so I can see it properly and not upside down. If I can figure out my camera and how to make it so it's not upside down, that will be great. But I am learning all this as far as camera and video and everything. I'm just going to hold this for a second, let that ink go in there, give it a good little press, and let it up. So we've got our card. Thinking of you. You've come so far and accomplished so much. So that is a basic card, not hard to do, not the most difficult thing, as you could see, was cutting everything and sizing it. I cut an extra strip. I could put that strip in here to give it a nice little bit of a color so the color matches, which is nice to do sometimes. And maybe we'll just do that quickly since I do have it left over. And I'm just going to run my glue along here. And this will let me show you what I should have done with the other cards, or the other part. So you want to just kind of glue this down, make sure it's in the right spot, and definitely give it a fold so it will fold. Now you can see how when it hangs over the edge, I can just give it a little bit of a snip like that, and now it's matched. And if I had done that on this part, it would have made it easier. So learn from my mistakes. Now we could do added things like embellishments. We could put on some little jewels. We could put on a ribbon or a bow, or we can just have it as that. So that's a quick, easy card. You can see I've done a couple here. This one was blue with a nice light floral under it. So all different sorts. Have fun. You can use your scrap papers with this. Works really nice. Just some couple coordinating papers. Good stamps is really important. If you're good at handwriting, you can write something on, or fussy cut something out of another card. Whatever you want to do, it's a good start to card making. All right, thank you for joining.